call the meeting to order. Pierre, I don't know if we have any minutes from the previous meetings. If not, then we can move on without them.
That's a Michael question. I sent them along after the last meeting.
Okay. See if let Mike respond.
Sorry about that. I had to respond to something. What's up?
Okay. Just about whether minutes from previous meetings. It just wanted to move to approve them.
Yeah, they should. I believe they were distributed. I thought I sent that out in my email with everything else.
Okay.
I got a copy of the last one. Yes.
All right, then we're calling the meeting to order and moving to approve the minutes from previous meetings. All those in favor? Aye. Gene Burnett.
Aye.
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 Okay, so it sounds like everybody's on board with that. Let's move on quickly to the planner's report and debrief on the multi-board workshop.
Yeah, so my planner's report was sent out with the meeting materials. So if anybody has any questions as to what is specifically on that report, I can answer those questions. Otherwise, and I believe Julie was there as well for the Monday night all boards and commissions meeting. There was. I think I don't know if it was the first of its kind ever in town, but it was definitely the first in any recent memory. It seemed. So it was a good opportunity for representatives from the boards and commissions to kind of get all in one room and basically all express the same thing, that they would like to know more of what's going on with other boards and how it impacts them. That was my main takeaway from the meeting, is that the other boards and commissions would like to know more about other business. So obviously I tried to accomplish that with my planner's report, letting you know not just what is happening, but what is happening relative to EDC business or things you might be interested in or concerned about. I'm not typically giving this board a breakdown of what's happening at the Conservation Commission on a week-to-week basis, right? But I'm happy to add those things if there's a desire. But I do the same thing with Planning Board, Affordable Housing Trust, and I'm probably missing a board there. But I give them all pretty much the same report, and I cater it and tailor it to their specific, not interests and needs, but what it is that they do. So what they may be impacted by, what's coming down the pike, conversations I've had that are relative to what they do as a board. So that was a big concern. Was communication. A talk about a master plan was raised. And while there was some grumbles in the audience about a master plan, about the usefulness of a master plan, it was something still that the planning board chair, who was in attendance, expressed a desire to maybe update that, and also made note of not specifically what the EDC has done, but all the various chapters that have been updated through other plans. So obviously the EDC has a economic development plan that was done 2019. So that serves really as the economic development chapter of the master plan. There's obviously the 4 parks plan. There's other recreation type goals and plans and studies that have been done. And then there's the UCBD plan, also the center Upton Center visioning plan that happened, and we're obviously now working on the West Upton. So parts of that master plan have been accomplished. It's just a matter of starting to piece it together into a comprehensive document, and then identifying what it is we're still lacking to achieve an actual master plan pursuant to state statute. There's speaking of carrots and sticks, there's no real sticks for towns that don't have master plans. There's only carrots, really, because what it serves to do for the most part is support grant requests. So if you have something identified in a master plan as a goal, but identifying that in a grant application usually goes a long way. We've been able to achieve that through the various other studies and reports that this town and the various boards have done. So this town has done a good job of, keeping us ahead with regard to that, and with regard to grant applications. Obviously, we've been very successful in the last couple of years with grant applications. So I don't know, Julie, do you have any other takeaways?
It was an interesting meeting, and the select board was really just trying to get us to share information, but also kind of get a temperature check on what people that care about and what we all kind of agreed were the weak points in town, and just like the low attendance at town meeting. And so the biggest thing was like more communication, not necessarily just between the different boards, but between the residents and the information coming out of town hall and the things that, the volunteers are doing too, and just finding ways to get that information out more. They're kind of brainstorming there, which is exciting. Lori was very sweet, and I like the positive note. I'm sad she's not here, so I couldn't call her out directly, but she was highlighting all the wonderful things that are happening in town, and I think it's easy to get kind of stuck on the more negative things, but she was a positive note there. I think it was a useful thing, and that the takeaway, at least my impression was, is that people wanted to do it again, maybe in a couple of months. There was some talk about it being every month with the multi-boards. I don't know if that would actually happen. I feel like that might be too much, but originally it was like twice a year, and then it was the once a month, and I'm curious where they're going to land on it. But it was clear that we needed to get together more often to find like more commonalities.
Well, I'm sorry I missed it. We had proposed this to the select board, the EDC had, back before the pandemic, basically all around the time of trying to do the Upton Center visioning plan, basically to get all the boards to share what their priority projects for the year, the more impactful things that they were working on, and to kind of look at mutual support was the original concept. I don't know if that was brought up, but
that was the original intent of the meeting, and it kind of went a little sideways, which it happens when you have a large group, but that I think was the initial objective, was exactly that.
Well, that's great. Well, I'm sorry I missed it. In any case, that's great. Thanks for that, for going, Julie. And I'm glad that I'm glad that there was somebody that was pointing out the positive and things that everybody works on. I mean, all the boards are working on volunteer. All these volunteer boards work thanklessly often to the benefit of the town, not just their specific agendas. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. So I'm glad you went, and I'm glad you met other people, and I'm glad you represented us.
I didn't reveal any of our future plans really, because we haven't talked about them as a group, and I said that I'm like, until we spitball them as a group, I'm not gonna unveil my great vision that has not been approved by our team.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, thank you again. Any other comments about that, about the meeting?
No, I think people were just like I said, because it was the first, it seemed, of any in any recent history. I think a lot of the boards and commissions that were present were just kind of getting used to the idea of what the meeting was, and sort of like finding their legs. So I think a future meeting, whatever they set that schedule to, will be probably a lot more fruitful. Not to say that this one wasn't. Like I said, it was just important to have that first meeting to get everybody sort of thinking about it and onto the same page.
Great.
I did go as well, and I did kind of find it interesting. One of the first people that talked was from the finance committee, basically making the assumption that the economic development was working on 5- and 7-story buildings and a lot of retail, etc. So, I mean, there definitely is some communication that needs to take place. I think often people go to the negative first before they even go to the positive. So that was my impression.
So
That's,
It
Russ,
was-
thanks, Russ. I forgot you weren't there. My apologies. But they did seem to have some misgivings as to what actually the EDC is doing, so specifically on the part of the finance committee.
Yeah, I was sitting next to him, and his demeanor changed when I said who I was. I was like, oh.
I'm happy to talk to Paul.
I'm kind of surprised by that. So there was a negative perception that we were trying to build massive buildings in town, kind of thing.
To be fair, I think that was just it's more spending money. I think he wants to see. Some people have a reaction if you don't understand something is to not like it. So maybe he doesn't understand the visioning process. And if you're frugal minded, I could see how that might not be how you'd like to see funds spent. But I think if anything, we have to probably do a better job, at least with that group, explaining what we do. We feel like that's something we need to justify, but I'm sure he's a lovely man who was like, oh, I need to at the next one spend some time with him and get to know him a little bit more.
But it's okay to name names, Julie. I mean, they're all public boards.
It was Paul Flaherty.
Yeah, was it really? Okay, all right. Thank you.
I'm so used to it at my work. It's like
So I can have that's it's good to know that, because there's lots of opportunities for each of us to engage with each other outside of a meeting, and Paul is one of the people I've enjoyed engaging with over the years. I'm certainly not shy.
Yeah. Nor am I. So I feel like he and I could have a spirited conversation, I'm sure, in a good way.
Yeah.
No, if I could just on Paul's behalf, and I don't mean to speak for him, but I don't think he was intending on trying to demean or dismiss what the EDC is doing, and I think his comments were more rooted in low expectations as far as what the town can achieve for economic development, which I think was the part of 5-story buildings comments or whatever he said with regard to that. Because it seemed, because he was he's drawing from the information that he has and that they base their decisions off of as a finance committee, which is in recognition of all of the tax base is single family homes, right? So the term bedroom community kept coming up and up again. So it was just more in what can we actually expect from economic development generally to share in the burden of our tax base, because it's not something that has been realized ever. So what can we do now? But I think it's a wonderful opportunity to, Gene, if you want to reach out to, I'm obviously happy to sit down with Paul. I talk to him all the time whenever I catch him in the hallways, to just let him know what we're working on and how economic development, again, generally, not necessarily the committee, can be achieved and what it can do, and what's reasonable.
Michael, could you? I missed the beginning of this conversation. Was this a meeting of a bunch of other committees in town just to get on? Okay.
Gene, you're muted, and yes.
It was okay, because I was just wondering if the historical commission was supposed to attend that.
Gene, you're muted. I see you keep trying to talk. You're muted.
It was for all boards.
It was an invitation that went to, you should have received the invitation because it came directly to the Economic Development Committee. It went to all committees in town and boards. It was about 2 months ago, I think, that the invitation went out.
Okay.
And so, the Historical Commission would have been included. I know, Mosquito Control Board was. I mean, so every board and committee was invited.
Okay,
I believe historical was there.
Probably. Oh, they were there. Okay.
There were some.
That's who spoke first, wasn't it?
One of them. They definitely spoke up. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like the first people to talk.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Good. Lori apparently can't get in. She's joining on my wife's phone, which is sitting on my computer. So I don't know why she can't get into the meeting. But
I don't see her trying to join. I don't have to let her in or something. So she's not in a waiting room.
Can you hear me? Can you
Yeah.
hear
There she
me?
is.
Yeah, she can hear. She's on the phone right here. Yeah. So what's
Right. Well, it's downloading. It's taking forever, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to, I'm happy to at least hear.
Yeah.
And maybe if I could say something like this, that would be great. So I appreciate being able to listen until your phone, Janet, or
Yeah.
Lisa's.
Yeah,
That's all.
that's fine, Lori. So you might want to try joining through your browser. If you try to join through the Teams app, it will require you to download the app, the Teams software. So,
I've tried both.
okay, all right.
Trying again. I downloaded it again, and I'm trying it again.
Well, you don't want to download. So there's an option that says join using your browser.
I've done that, and it hasn't worked.
Okay, all right. All right, well, we'll make the best of it the way we are then. Okay.
Right.
All
And
right.
I was at the meeting. It was great to be at that meeting. I'm seeing something that looks hopeful here. Oh, I might be able to get in now. Trying to join.
All right, if you could, as soon as you, does it look like you're going to be able to join?
I think I'm.
Okay, you're in. You're in, okay.
Thank you, Lisa.
Sure.
Clearly, your
Okay.
wife is friends with Lori.
Right, clearly, yeah. It was a smooth transition too.
It was difficult. I did have to download a new one, but here I am. Hello.
Okay, all right. Well, good. I understand that you were one of the positive voices in the meeting from what Julie had said.
You were like the positive voice in it, and I just appreciated your optimism and your painting of the town. And it's nice to just have that, like, remember, we have a great
It was
trying to make it
getting
nicer.
pretty negative, and it was kind of going down that road. But I just heard you say something about, was there someone from the Historic Commission who spoke at the beginning before I got there?
I thought that's who
You said-
spoke up first, was the person from the
Who
historical.
was that?
It might have actually been someone from the cemetery.
cemetery.
Oh, cemetery, you're right, not
Yeah.
historical, cemetery,
We
you're right.
talked about the
Okay.
cemetery for a bit and
Yeah,
finding
yeah.
new places to for future cemeteries.
That's my fault, yeah, that was correct.
Well,
Okay.
he talked a lot about the overlap between cemetery and historical commission. So.
Historical, right, okay, yeah.
You know, Jean, you say that people complain that we had this visioning thing and we haven't gotten enough done. And we look at it and we go, look, we got the community center, we got some parking lots. We feel like we've moved the ball forward quite a bit, but you can't help negativism all the time. And that's sort of how it was going. And I think we managed to bring out some other positive things and talked a lot about communication and how we can make that better and that sort of thing. And it was great that Julie was there too, who had some positive things to say. So, but a lot of it did seem to fall. Mike and I talked afterwards that it did come back to planning and economic development and those kinds of things. And some people are frustrated with taxes. That's a big thing. But otherwise, people feel like the town's changing too fast. Some people feel like the town's not changing fast enough. So we're kind of stuck in the middle. And I think we're doing great.
All right, well, thank you. Like I said, I'm glad that some people were there and had positive things to add. So let's close that conversation and move on to the next agenda item, and that's the EDC focus projects for 24. The public parking vision earmarks, I think, soliciting bids and bids received. We're pretty well set on that one, aren't we, Mike? There's nothing new there, or is there something new?
And I think I actually forgot to send it out. I have an old from like April quote from BSC Group to do the parking lot design for the two Grove Street lots, right? And that was a part of the conversation that we had that was ongoing with BSC when we're doing the Holy Angels thing. And so they quoted me the amount, whatever we said for the earmark money. I think it was like 20,000 maybe. I'm not looking at it right now. But it was whatever this committee recommended to set aside for that that project. And so I guess where I am with it is, do you and I should really send it out too before we make any firm commitments on anything. But my question will really be, do we want to proceed with BSC Group given what they've provided, or do you want me to go out and get other quotes for that work?
Well, let's see what they provided, and I think we raised this at another meeting, that with the bridge work coming up, that area is definitely going to be the staging area for the construction crew, and trying to work in some of the infrastructure, get a twofer. They need that for staging area. They can do some site improvements to that. They're going to have a stormwater management plan, most likely, for the work. They're going to need to do, wetland protections controls. A lot of the things that BSD designed, could be incorporated into their work, I think. Or is it?
Into the bridge work?
What's that?
I'm sorry, was that incorporating it into the bridge plan?
Yeah, well, because not necessarily into the bridge plan, but just as a contractor that does similar work and something like that bridge plan, they're going to need to have a lay down area. They're going to need to have an office trailer. They're going to need to do a bunch of different things that are going to use that parking lot, pretty extensively. They're going to have to, when they get the bridge, the bridge components are going to have to be stockpiled there. I think there's some underground infrastructure too that's going to be required. So, and just like I said, from a permitting perspective, they'll be required to do a variety of different things from a wetlands protection perspective and stormwater management, just to make sure that they're not impacting the resources. So incorporating some of the things that we looked at in the designs around the riverway may be possible. And if they're already mobilized, there's also a significant cost of mobilization. So if we have a design that's close, depending on when that work is implemented, there may be an ability to kind of couple the things.
So after they're done staging and doing all of that, and they haul out the trailers and what's left behind, do they have to do any repairs?
Yes, they have to restore the contract. Generally, in something like this, the contract will state that they have to return the site to a useful condition. If it's already a parking lot, it has to be returned to a parking lot of similar or better condition.
Hence thinking that you can kind of stack them together, because if they have to fix it up anyway, might as well keep going. Is that kind of the thought?
Well, that's just my thought. Like I said, if I'm on a job and my equipment is mobilized, I know that I have there's a fairly significant cost in mobilization and demobilization. If I can do other work that pays a little bit more while I'm there and incorporate I'm going to be interested in doing that.
That's true.
That's just, as I said, as somebody that does similar type of work, for me, I would be interested in doing that.
Yeah.
So that, I guess, Mike, that just kind of leaves us with what are the, let's circulate whatever quote they have, and then maybe check in with Dennis on, or you may know what the scheduling is around the bridge work.
Yeah, and I tried to. I'm not to. I mean, Dennis is super busy, and then he's soon. I'm sure he's prepping himself for being interim town manager. I did inquire for an update on the bridge ahead of this meeting, but I didn't get an update. So I'll reach out to him again. He's super duper busy.
So he's going to. I didn't realize that he's going to be serving as interim town manager.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Is there a search committee being formed, or?
That is my understanding. The intent is Dennis will be the interim, and then while that's happening, they'll form the search committee and get things moving.
Good.
You're not going to throw your hat in the ring, Michael?
That was the first thing I asked Michael too when I saw him Monday.
No pressure.
Yeah, no comment.
How many more meetings can you attend?
Julie got a little taste of it this week. This is her third meeting as well.
It is a lot. Well, Mary Kate, am I saying your name right too? Your MK? I believe this is your third one as well.
Yeah.
Call you out on mute and with your camera off, but
Um,
oh, you're still on mute.
Free. It's free. But yes.
Me too.
I don't know how you do this all the time, Michael. I did think of you
Russ, too.
earlier.
Keep forgetting about Russ. My apologies.
I'm invisible.
yeah. All right. Well, if there's nothing else on that, anybody else have any comments on that item?
Nope.
Okay, good. Let's move on to the West Upton Center vision earmark, the earmarks. Dodson Flicker has been working. There have been some questions that have been circulated. Michael has been answering them as they arise. Do you want to kind of
Yeah,
go through that a little
this
bit?
is actually relates to number 4 on the agenda as well. So I apologize, we kind of have it on there twice. But what I wanted from input tonight was, and I circulated the email that I had received from Dodson Flinker inquiring about updating the poster. Their question mainly was, should they incorporate option A or option C? When I believe they're referring to the Holy Angels revisioning plans. Does with now having some time to think about it, did you want to incorporate option A or option C onto the revised visioning plan for Upton Center? I believe that was their main question.
I think we still don't know because we don't know the outcome, right? Of
That's correct.
The updated inspection from Holy Angels. So it's still just a guess. It's like if they want to just pick one, I guess at this point.
They want us to guess though, right?
Yeah.
Well, but I think we did. Keep in mind that what we decided was no matter what happens with Holy Angels, that and we're kind of parking that conversation. That area behind Holy Angels and the arcade building can only really be used for parking. And so incorporating, I think, was it A, incorporated parking behind the arcade building, and the selectmen, my understanding is the selectmen have been having or have had some conversations with the owners of the arcade building. And the last meeting we had with the selectmen indicated that they like the idea of going ahead with, that would be A, I believe. Option A, which was do the design that incorporated the Oliver Riverway improvements and the parking that we would be potentially building for the arcade building.
So it sounds like the answer is A.
Is that,
I'll just add, yeah, that's fine with me as long as it's okay with the committee. I'll just add that I don't think we will have clear guidance from when the architects present the overall cost of renovations to Holy Angels, because it's still, we'll have a clear idea as to what the cost will be. What we will need is a clear idea is whether or not the town is supportive of that cost, right? So, and that'll be something that'll either be answered all-encompassingly at town meeting, or answered in part over years. It's I as staff need some direction as to what I should be going after with regard to funding. I believe we will probably have a funding request through the CPC to do the exterior improvements to Holy Angels, probably fall meeting. But again, the information of cost is only that, right? We only know what it'll cost. What I don't know is community support and firm direction on a vision. I'm leaning towards my assumption is that the vision will be to save it and to invest whatever money we need to, but I don't speak for the community, obviously.
I'm very curious. I could see it going either way. It depends on that number, I think, what it comes out to. So it'd be interesting to finally get that. When will we have that answer? Like what the updated cost would be?
I believe they are slated to deliver the final report by the end of August, but I will double check. Maybe we'll have it for the next meeting.
So it will depend on that cost and also what grants there are available and that sort of thing. And you would have a better sense of that. I only know about things like the Grange, and I know it's different for a town than a private entity.
What is unfortunate through the chair is that grants are drying up. So what is good is that this community has CPC funds, which seem to be incredibly helpful to achieving local projects. So.
And not to get sidetracked again onto the church, because this always comes back to kind of dividing our attention away from what we can control into things we can't. I guess the one question that I have, since we are talking about this, what's is it 5% of CPC funds have to go to historic preservation?
10, 10, and 10, I believe.
10, 10, and 10. Okay. Yeah. So what's the reserve right now on that 10%? Because not much has been spent, has it, of the historic funds?
Well, that's a good question. We have something like $1 million in reserve, but I don't know how much of that has been put into the historic preservation part, because it's accumulated over time. But I believe you have a decent amount. I might have that information at my fingertips.
What does the CPC stand for again?
Community Preservation Committee.
Oh. And we have
it's funded through a tax real estate tax surcharge.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of it goes to open space preservation. Then there's the affordable housing, historic, and what's the other?
Recreation.
The other
housing, yeah, open space recreation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, if this loads, I should have the answer in a second.
And so just in case, what it does is it builds every year unless it's expended. So the affordable housing, if there were affordable housing trust, the affordable housing trust could tap into those funds to support and underwrite.
If this is accurate, and it should be, there's about 183,000 available for historic preservation.
Very interesting. Especially if a lot of seniors were talking about being forced out of town because they couldn't afford it, or Lori's just experiencing that a lot. And I didn't realize that's one way you could use that type of money.
So is that because we have 1.8 million in it, and so we could get 10% for CPC?
It's 10. My understanding is 10% is dedicated of whatever you generated in that year that you generated the tax revenue. So whatever amount that was generated in tax revenue through the CPA in a year, 10% of that is then put into those three accounts. And so that is what is available today. That is a summary of all previous years and any projects that have been spent.
Well, it's something.
Yeah, it's useful. It's been very helpful in the past in open space acquisitions. It's been very helpful in the past in other recreational projects, things like that. So continuing on the West Upton Center vision in the earmarks, we need to answer Dodson and Flinker on this particular issue. Is there anything else that they need from us at this time in terms of guidance?
It was just that question.
And there was a meeting this week, right?
Yes.
That they had. And how did any of you attend? Okay.
4 of us did.
For,
Yeah.
So how did that, just so you can let the rest of the committee know, how did it go? And,
I feel like they're laying the groundwork, trying to drum up interest for the fall meeting where the real like brainstorming is going to happen. And they're kind of telling the story of Upton, which was nice. And I appreciate that that's the perspective they're coming from, is really the history of the town, and then talking about the different zoning, which was really eye-opening, the way West Upton is zoned, and that it seems like in the 50s they zoned a big chunk of it, so there was no zoning, and so it was just a mishmash of things, and then a big chunk of it is it was commercial industrial, which means you can only do the one level buildings, and I can see how that would really stifle growth or any sort of diversity in your buildings if you have to get a special permit to do anything different, and that could be a deterrent to businesses or just developers wanting to do a new 2-family home. It just kind of was like, oh wow, this makes a lot of sense. This is something that definitely holds our town back.
Gene, that was the conclusion of the boring stuff. So these two first meetings was all about fact finding and establishing a basis for which decisions can now be made, and decisions about vision, right? So unfortunately we had to talk about zoning last night, and it's not anybody's favorite topic. It's not my favorite topic. It's mind numbing because you get into these details and it's just hard.
But on the other hand, I think it's hard, but
Yes.
it's what we've been saying for years. The refrain is you get what you zone for.
Yeah.
So you want a change, then you have to make the accommodation in the zoning. That's the whole drive behind, it's okay to have a vision, but if you don't have zoning that supports the vision, it's kind of like, what's the point?
Absolutely, and I don't mean to undermine the importance of it. It absolutely is important. It is our number one tool in our toolkit to structure and direct development. It is just it is a difficult conversation to have because it is so detailed.
And it's so bureaucratic. It's so bureaucratic, and the detail and the devil is always in the details, because somebody has to do the zoning. Somebody has to write it and adopt it, and it is mind-numbing.
That part is, yeah.
And then hopefully it's interpreted correctly on the once all said and done. So
exactly.
And what's the zoning now down there?
It's a mix of things. There was like the greater general business was like the real center of the West Upton, but just below that, including like the mill, I was just really surprised how much of that down to the railroad was the commercial, industrial. There was very little residential and agricultural, which I was surprised because that's obviously mostly residential, but it's because those just happened before and they're kind of like grandfathered in the way they were.
So I was talking with Kathy Taylor about this yesterday, and she was the head of Historic Commission at one point, and she said that there was a time that some part of that was considered as a historic district, and I don't know if Craig can speak to that at all, or if that's been lost to the change in leadership over time. I don't know. Sometimes that happens, So I don't know if there's some thing historic there. Certainly we have modern buildings now. We have malls and things like that and gas stations, but I don't know if that should be part of the conversation or not.
Linda Gay was talking about that last night too, and so was Craig. Like there definitely, it seems like there's these two different parts that are the historic districts that are not continuous, but wouldn't it be nice if it was continuous on 140? Someone had said that as well, like that whole, from each center.
Yeah, well, I believe it is factored into the historic district, but we were kind of touching upon this last night that our historic district doesn't have any teeth per se, and Dan Lazarus had brought that up, and I was just explaining to him that the historic commission does have a desire to create a historic district that has, like enforcement, but power. We had a big meeting about this at the historical commission. We don't really have the manpower to enact it. It's kind of a big lift. With that being said, 90% of the work had already been done in the 1990s. So a lot of it's already done, but we just don't really have the manpower to kind of see it through. And we want to make sure if we do it, that it's successful, because we don't want another negative vote at town hall, because that wouldn't look good on the historical commission. So that's kind of just like quick summary.
I remember that vote very well. It was lost by one vote, and a woman who stood up not the way she intended to. So it changed history, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was surprised that the zoning is commercial industrial across all of those Knowlton or Steen buildings, which kind of does put them at risk for demolition. So I don't know. I'd kind of like to see that zoning revised so we can protect those buildings and we don't incentivize demolition for them.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for those who attended. In the next meeting, for some reason, this past one slipped off my radar screen. Michael, can we put it on note that, a month before that next meeting that we discussed that the meeting date at the agenda, just make sure everybody's aware. And I know
sure.
we don't want to pack that meeting. We had made a conscious decision that not too many of us go.
Sure.
So-
The next meeting is September 13th, but we'll probably meet again before then. September 13th is a Saturday, so it's going to be in the morning from about 9ish to 1. We're going to meet. Everyone will meet at. I'm so distracted from my dog right now. We'll meet at Bill McCormick's place. He offered to have everybody park in his parking lot and then do a walking tour.
So where
so
did
there'd be
Bill McCormick live? Which house is his? Or
he's
place?
111 Main Street, which is right next to the post office.
Okay.
It's where that little gazebo is next to the parking lot, next to
Oh,
the
okay.
post office parking lot.
And Michael, do you know when the next meeting is for the group, for all the commissions getting together to meet?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Michael, but yeah, that meeting in September will be like an hour walking tour, they said, and then we'll go back to the community center.
Yep.
Like,
And then it'll be a walking tour. Then we'll go back to the community center and do the workshop. Discuss findings and recommendations and get into all that stuff.
Okay, great. And then let's move on to the infrastructure analysis bid received. And I know, I'm not sure how familiar you all are about this. Michael and I talked about it. That we only received one bid in response to it. And if you recall, what it was to look at basic essential infrastructure that would support economic development. So, power capacity, where three-phase power is available, what kind of power is available, what sewer and water services are available. All of those things would be included in that research. And, if we could put, if there's transmission infrastructure to put battery storage for connection to the grid, similar thing. All of those components would be incorporated into this infrastructure analysis. As of now, Mike, why don't you take it from here? But we only have one bid that's come in.
Yep, we got the one bid, and again, they quoted the price that we had set aside for the earmark money. So it was, is Stantec is the company. They're a large firm. They do a lot of work for the town. I'm sure they can do the work and do it well, and we probably get a good product. But I am a little disappointed that I only got the one bid, because I was talking to another engineering firm that seemed really interested in the project, but then they fell off the map, stopped responding to my emails. So I imagine that means they're busy, which is fine. And then I reached out to another firm too, and they don't do, they're more of an economic development firm. They don't do that sort of work. And again, so the work itself will be a report. It'll be a report of existing conditions in town, to be all located in one place. What is our sewer and water capacity, which we sort of know it via the DPW because they have that information. But where do we find that information? Usually I got to find that information by asking Dennis Westgate, right? And so, which Dennis is wonderful. It's always great to talk to him. But you know, it'd be good to have all of this information in a central source, include sewer and water. You know, things like and I'm not looking at the bid right now, but the fiber optic, where that's available, gas lines, where those exist in town, and what can they support? What is their capacity today? And what the hope is that will help inform the EDC, the planning board, whoever interested developers as to what the town can support for development. So they are not bringing outsized development options for consideration to the town immediately, right? So if a developer is interested in bringing something to town, they're not bringing the entire city of Somerville as their plan. They have a relatively to scale plan. That's sort of an extreme example, right? But it's just helpful information, and the intent is to then have this information in one place and then use that information as such. So it then becomes a tool for potential marketing, or at least just direction, like I said, to help inform my discussions with developers when they're interested in coming to town, no matter how big or small, and to help. It'll also help planning efforts, most likely. So if we ever do complete a master plan, it'll very much help inform decisions. So it's sort of simple, but it'll inform decisions like you don't want high density in your agricultural residential area because there's no infrastructure out there that supports it, right? It'll help decision making that focuses and reinforces smart growth decisions where you want growth off of your existing infrastructure. But where is that infrastructure and what can it actually support? So that's basically what we're trying to achieve with this.
And it's kind of in addition to like what we're doing with downtown with the resource area delineations and definitions. It goes hand in hand with that kind of thing. It adds certainty to any developer who's looking to do a project. It's de-risking and informing at the same time. So we get, qualified proposals, not proposals that don't make any sense for the town or don't make any sense for the developer.
Is this something that could be on our website in the end?
Yes.
And would you like have a flashy way to direct any prospective developers like that?
Yeah, that's the intent. That's the kind of the idea.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one-stop information source.
Make it easy.
Hey, Michael, will they perform an independent analysis of the services and availability of those services? Or will they, the reason I'm asking is, will it help confirm what Dennis has on file for what his resources are?
Oh, right, yeah.
Or will they go to Dennis and say, what do you have for sewer capacity? What do you have? And just take that data from him and not independently validate what he has on record to ensure it's current and accurate.
Right. So it was not planned that they will reinvent the wheel with regard to looking into sewer and water capacity. I mean, I understand the like validating it and ensuring it's correct, but they're not tasked with doing that. They're going to use the information that is available there, and they're going to do fact finding for information that we don't have readily available.
Thank you.
So in my opinion, it's an important piece of work to get done. It helps us a lot. So looking forward to seeing the end result. And when would the project kickoff be, Mike?
Well, I don't know yet. I have to engage them first to I got to first bring this to the select board to have them authorize the contract that I can discuss timeline with Stantec.
Okay.
They probably provided a timeline here, but obviously, a little bit of time has already gone by.
All right, great. Be happy to see this work get started. Go ahead, Lori.
Is this something that we have to go to town meeting to ask for the financing for it, or no?
No.
Okay.
No. Okay, moving on, I think, based upon what's happening politically, this solar development is going to go through a period of stagnation. So the whole idea of implementing solar on town properties with the investment tax credit potentially going away and the other credits for renewable energy going away, there's going to be a restructuring in the industry very quickly here. So no one is looking at projects at the moment.
Do we take it off of our agenda then?
I think there, the things that will be supported will be battery backup. There's lots of talk that with AI development and upcoming power needs, that regions such as ours could experience brownouts fairly regularly without battery or emergency backup systems. So that may end up being supported, and there's still National Grid and the utilities themselves are supporting battery development projects. So I don't think we need to take it off. I think it's just for now. I think we just leave it as a bookmark, and see how things shake out in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
The design guidelines, I don't think we have anything to update there. I think it's also part and parcel of what Dodson, in the first meeting with Dodson and Flinker, there was a discussion about it, and it brought it back to the top of the pile of things that we really should be trying to implement, and trying to get codified, based upon all the work that they did and what the public contributions are. As of now, we don't have any hard and fast design guidelines, right?
And Gene, I am waiting for a new grant round to open for the planning assistance grant. I reached out to the state about that grant a month ago, just because last year at this time it had already opened. Because it was my plan to submit an application for funding to get design guidelines written in an adoptable format for this purpose. So just let you know where I am with that. Hopefully that grant doesn't also go away.
And is it a federal funding or state funding issue?
The problem is that federal funding impacts state funding and the state's choice to allocate money where. So it's not. I don't know if that grant specifically is relies on federal dollars. If it does, I can almost guarantee it'll go away. But if it's entirely on state funds, I'm still concerned because federal dollars are drying up elsewhere, so they might choose to divert that money.
Yes, and we're particularly popular in the current administration's eyes. I know that. All right.
One question
Discussion
on
of
that.
adding. What's that?
One question on design guidelines. I thought we had the consensus that at the end of the day, we cannot implement anything, but we can only pass recommendation to the ZBR for them to do something, and we had actually done that. Did I misinterpret what we had decided?
I think we hadn't gotten to the point where we had, given them a set of guidelines that, that were informed through the process of the center development project. So
Gene, Pierre is right. I mean, Pierre, you described where we currently are with it. So you currently have design guideline recommendations that I believe were developed by CMRPC. And one of my comments at a previous meeting was, I can utilize that document to give it to the ZBA and the planning board to base their decisions off of, but it cannot be implemented and required because it is not an adopted regulation. It's just it's a piece of paper that's essentially a suggestion. It hasn't been adopted into our bylaws or adopted formally into our regulations. So the hope is with new design guidelines, maybe get a better document, but also get something in an adoptable format that I can either bring to the planning board for a public hearing or bring to town meeting in a bylaw so it can be adopted by town meeting.
Okay, cool, thank you.
and this is also where those, those overlapping, multiple committee meeting formats can work. This is kind of one of the reasons we originally were introducing the concept of an all boards meeting was for this type of thing, because there's a lot of overlap on what we do with planning and ZBA. The recreation committee is also being potentially involved in the things that we're interested in, and vice versa. They want to know, Paul Filardi wants to know what we're up to, what's our purpose, those kind of things. So I do think it's, kind of part and parcel of this whole unified purpose with multiple committees working on the same goal. Julie, did you have any projects that you wanted to add?
We talked about this a few months ago at the end of a meeting, so let's see if my computer is going to let me share. Oh no. Like find the setting to let it share. Okay. I'm going to have to quit for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. While we're doing that, while she's doing that, why don't we set the next meeting date? What's the final Thursday or third Thursday in August?
The 28th is the last and fourth Thursday. The 21st is the third. I will not be available on the 21st.
So then let's do it for the 28th. Does anybody else have any objection to that?
No.
Good for me.
All right, let's schedule it for the 28th then.
I had to do that to be able to share. Quick giving permission to my computer. All right, let me do this. So the springboard off of window. What you were just saying about the multi-board things. Is it actually sharing? It's funny, it doesn't.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't give me the usual like red bar. So it just made me not sure, but the thought being the sponsoring like the biannual mixers or these all town all committee meetings is really, it's already in motion, but that was the thought too. Obviously it's a great idea that I'm not the first one, and we clearly can see the benefit to it. So I don't know if that's something we even need to necessarily take up, but if there does need to be an owner of it, keep it going. And again, it was nice at this meeting to hear the commonalities where people wanted more engagement and for people to be just more informed in town. So that was the thought. It's like, how do we find a way to get people more involved? Because in the end, it's going to spur more economic development in town if people are more engaged in going out and participating in things and maybe spending money or just finding new partnerships where a new business could be born. It just feels like it's more of like an abstract way to spur economic development, but I feel like it does come back down to that, where it's, if we get people more involved, it'll help our town get stronger and just, succeed long term and being a spacious place to be. So Yes, I want to open it up for conversation, these things, because I've gone through these once before, and I feel like if we want to pick anything to go after, just something new to add to our agenda, that's,
I really like the idea of the mixer. You know, we have the community center now with kitchen facilities to, you know, to do something that's social as well as, you know, for all the committees.
yeah, I feel like if it's not necessarily have an agenda on it,
Right.
and maybe that would be the difference, is that it doesn't, it's just for people to get to go. Because I feel like sometimes you just have to build those relationships up.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess it would come down to when and where would we want to start to plan something like that?
I'm wondering whether sometime between, I don't know, sometime in the fall, you know, before Thanksgiving, before it gets too crazy.
Yeah.
If I can say, it sounded like Laura's planning to have these multi-board meetings from time to time, but this sounds a little bit more social. And then
Yeah.
also the senior group has been doing the social gatherings and that sort of thing. So I think some of that's happening, but also coming out of that meeting Monday night, I've had a couple conversations since then, and I know Kathleen Byrne is putting something together, and other people have mentioned ideas they have, and I think Kathy Robertson may be going back to her idea of an online newspaper kind of thing that everybody sends their schedule to, or if we had a meeting like this, if a little narrative came out of it every couple of months, you could send it so people would know what was going on in our committee, and planning would do the same thing, and ZBA would do the same thing, that sort of thing. So I think it started, and sure, this would probably add to it also, but I think there's going to definitely be an attempt to have better communication in town.
Yeah.
Good. So that's
So-
kind of like, that's increasing both community outreach and this, you know, the mixer idea together. I think it's all part and parcel of the same thing, right, Julie?
Yeah. It can be kind of lumped together that way.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'd love to add that to our agenda, I guess, is to plan some different opportunities, like a fall. We could just start with like a fall social event for the different board members and whatnot.
Great. All right. So I
Ice
think
cream
maybe.
always works. Food, brings
Right.
people together.
Yeah.
I think that, you're right, exactly. I think that, you know, we probably want to introduce this to the selectmen earlier rather than later. Okay. And we can.
I guess where would the potential places be? Like, are you allowed to have food in the senior center?
Yes.
Yep.
Or do you want this to be somewhere different? I don't
You
know.
have to apply for it. Yeah.
There's a kitchen there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Russ, you're definitely going to be the person to talk to about food. How do you
You have to apply to the town manager, and if you have food, there's certain things you have to do, and if you have certain numbers, there's other things you have to do, but they're very clear about it, and it's all online.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
Like, into-
And then, you know, I had a hard stop. I need to get onto another meeting. Do you guys want to continue with this since we've set the next meeting? Do you want to continue with this conversation of the facade design and the historic signage?
We can save it for next time. I'm happy
Okay.
to make like one thing, like move
All right.
along, because I also don't want to flood us with things and
Okay.
not need them. So.
All right, good. Well, let's try and, as an action item, try and, you know, introduce the selectmen that we want to do something at the senior center
Yeah.
or the community center. Okay. Yeah. Sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
It gets booked up quickly, so before anything, you might want to even just think about finding a time that works and booking it.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Any other anything else anybody wanted to add or discuss tonight?
Oh, sure.
All right. Great. All right. Well, let's have a motion to adjourn. I'd like to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Bye.
Okay. All right, great. We'll see you all next time on Thursday, the 28th.